It's time to gather together. Hi there, I'm Yelta, and I'll be buying the first round while we chat about Final Fantasy XIV. This is episode 176. Pull up a chair and join us. On the menu tonight, GARO Collaboration ends with patch 5.1. Join us for the Duty Commenced episode 32 on August 23rd. The Rising returns on August 26th. Developers blog from Shanghai. We look at a few signs that you might actually be the problem player. And we have fan mail. But first, let's shoot the shit. What has been going on this week? All right, this week we have a special guest. We have Alex. Hi.
Hi, how's it going, everybody?
It's excellent. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to talking about some Final Fantasy XIV because I don't get to do that on podcasts a lot these days for some reason.
Well, what do you get to talk about?
Well, I actually have like a podcast called, For the Love of Video Games. And as you can imagine, we're basically talking about like every single thing about video games from like, from my co-host's like weird obsession with like playing retro games in the middle of a summer that is packed with so many good games. And of course, there's a little bit of Final Fantasy XIV, but I know like people want variety, so I can't talk about it that much over there,
You don't get to do a deep dive on 14.
No, and I'm not sure like if I'm, I have the capacity to do a deep dive because, I don't know if you guys know this, but like I feel like I am the outlier every single time I listen to like your podcast or even any other thing or watch like any other thing about like Final Fantasy XIV because I am literally the poster child of what a casual Final Fantasy XIV player is, like it's like, oh, there's extremes. Maybe we'll try it next week. Or, maybe, a month from now when we got better gear or something. Or like Savage. We'll try that in the next expansion when we can format it. Okay, unsynced maybe, preferably. Thank you. That sort of thing.
Well, nothing wrong with that, and it's a viewpoint we like to see. Sometimes I know Ruby and I are very much in the same place. We're certainly not hardcore.
It's funny how you would say, Alex, you listen to us, and then it seems like you're more casual because we tend to think we're pretty casual. I mean, we're just scratching the surface of some Savage, and we tend to think we are.
Dude, like casual is literally like we just need to cap the tombstones this week. And then we're gone. Like, that's it. Like, that's... You can't get more old... Yeah, I'm just literally clocking in, capping my Phantasmagoria, we're done. And, that's not to say that that's the only thing we do. Like, sometimes we'll dabble and maybe, like, I don't know, like, right now I'm leveling my Dancer and Gunbreaker. Not at the same time, like, preferably Dancer, so I can ensure that, I can get my mentor credit before 5.1 and stuff. And we, and to be fair, we did try like Titania Extreme and stuff, and I'm on the Crystal Data Center in case people are wondering. So that already sets the stage for what I'm about to say, which is it's really difficult to find people who already know the fight that won't quit after the second wipe. Like so many people just kind of want to get carried, and keep in mind, guys, like we tried this even before like the Eden raids were available. So it was literally the purest way that you can run it without like, being too overpowered with gear and stuff like that. And, it was kind of sad that we weren't able to finish it because last expansion, we beat Susano before, the Omega weapon, raids, came out. So that was kind of like a, badge of honor for us. So yeah, so that's me, the ultra casual. There's that.
Good to know on Aether it's also two goes or two wipes and we drop because it seems that way on Primal so
Primal's
often.
Very much like that, yeah.
Yeah, so basically you guys are trying to say like this is just a problem across the board. It's not necessarily even okay. All right.
You cannot lose heart. That's one of the things I get frustrated with people who are always like, there's no learning parties up ever, and I'm like, I hit refresh on that board a lot, and at least on Excalibur, a couple, 3 times a night, you'll see a new or different party or even 2 parties at once, both looking for tanks, and I join them. I go in and join learning parties, clear parties just to help sometimes. It's kind of fun, it's fun to play with people who are behind and can't find 7 other people patient enough to, let them learn the fight.
Yeah. And the way that I see it is this, right? Like, a lot of people think that, they're missing out on something if they don't do extremes and they don't do savages and stuff. But the way that I see it, it's kind of like I can watch, like the NBA and appreciate the sport for what it is. That doesn't mean I'm going to be like the next Kobe Bryant or that I have to, like I can literally just stand on the side, watch everybody do their world first for Savage and gain an appreciation for the hard work that everybody else is doing outside of myself,
Wait, you don't want to make a petition on the forums to nerf everything so everything's accessible to you?
I don't. With the kind of work that I do, which is, time for a plug, youtube.com/My Backlog Battle. I have a YouTube channel. I review a whole bunch of games and stuff like that are very long, right? Like, we're talking like the Yakuza series, for example. That's like minimum, like, depending on what it is, like between like 20 to 40 hours each, right? And we seem to be getting one at least every single year. This year we're gonna have 3 Yakuza games this year, for crying out loud. Technically, yeah. The third one actually came out yesterday as part of a collection, actually, and then there's a 4th one coming like in October. Judgment came out in June, so very close. And I mostly review like Japanese games and RPGs and whatnot. So, which includes, of course, Fire Emblem 3 Houses. That alone, like one playthrough is like 60 hours. So allegedly. So yeah. And I'm only like 6 hours in there. Oh boy. So I got my work cut out for me, guys.
Oh, I thought about picking that up, but
it's really
I don't
good.
need more games right now. I'm playing Minecraft and I'm playing No Man's Sky and I'm playing 14.
So the first 2, they'll be here when you get back, okay? Like 14, like do what I do, just cap the tombstones and get out of here, and so you'll have more time with like, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, which, by the way, like I generally don't like technical turn-based RPGs, but 3 Houses converted me. Like I'm like, I can't stop thinking about that game.
I've heard it's the best of the Fire Emblem games.
It is. It's the second most like highly rated Fire Emblem of all time. Like it's second best. So, but so far it's, in terms of like sales, it's like one of the largest, like, most successful ones. So yeah, it's really good.
Good for Western sales. Good for bringing more Fire Emblem to the West.
Yeah, totally. Outside of like Final Fantasy 14, like I always think about like Fire Emblem and when I'm going to pick it back up.
Could I get into that without having played any other is it
yes.
a standalone? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my questions always is like,
because there's like Marth and Roy and all these others.
Those guys don't exist here. Maybe they do, but I'm not that far.
Somebody's great grandfather or something.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the crazy thing is that it's literally, I mean, from the title itself, there's 3 houses. So there comes a time where, like, the first half of the game is kind of somewhat the same for, like, depending on what house you pick. And then the second half of the game, literally, like, it's different for all 3 houses. Like, the story is different. Oh. The battles are kind of different for each. And I was just like, so it's literally, like, 3 games in one. So, yeah. I have my work cut out for me. Yeah.
So you've got this backlog, and you're going through your backlog, that's the whole deal, right? My Backlog Battle.
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of the games that I cover are very lengthy in terms of like their playtime, and I personally believe that that the backlog battle, if you will, is kind of like this thing that everybody goes through, like not just for video games, but also movies, TV shows, books, you name it. Everybody has some sort of backlog battle involved, but specifically like video games, that's kind of like my focus and stuff. That's the hobby that I'm really passionate about. And, and that doesn't mean that I only go back to the classics. The backlog battle continues. Like it doesn't like stop. Like that's why new games come out every single week now, as opposed to like every single month, like back in the 80s and stuff like that. It's crazy how many video games we get on a per week basis, especially next month. Next month in September, there's like at least like 6 must-have games in September, which is really super insane. And and people are probably wondering like, wait a second, like you're talking about all these video games and stuff. What do I have to do with like Final Fantasy 14 other than being a player? Well, one of the things I'm really super proud of, I've been working on this Oh man, since 2015, I used to stream on Twitch, and on Twitch I used to be known as a guy who can explain like the inner workings of MMOs, aka Final Fantasy 14, like really well, and I managed to convince a lot of people to try the game out, jump in, and and I left because like it's tough keeping a schedule on Twitch to stream live every single day is really tough. So I wanted to do something similar on YouTube, and so last year, Yelta's probably gonna give me crap about this, but like I started a series called Travel Eorzea, and the whole idea behind that was that I was gonna show how beautiful. I mean, Ruby, you were in it, like you were one of the videos,
I loved it.
Yeah, and the whole idea of Travel Eorzea is to sell the idea that when you play Final Fantasy XIV, you're genuinely going into a different world. You're literally traveling, to a different, kind of place that doesn't exist in real life, and you can enjoy your time there. And there's a lot of stories surrounding the areas that you visit, to kind of really convey the emotion and the feel and the story of those places. The problem is that it is so like, it is so like highfalutin of an idea, if you will, that nobody got that was like a way for me to convince people to try out the game. Like I felt like I needed to hammer the point home and just kind of like be like, no guys, like it's a really good game. And so starting this month, I actually started a new series called the Final Fantasy XIV New Adventurer Guides. Literally simplifying the whole thing, removing the fancy titles and everything. It's just like, bro, you're a new adventurer, you should probably check this out. And the whole purpose of these guides is these guys. I will warn everybody who's listening right now, these are not targeted for you. This definitely isn't, because it will make the assumption that I am making is that you've never played an MMO before, but you want to play Final Fantasy 14, because I feel that specific segment of the population is wholly underserved. Completely underserved. And and this is, and let me tell you guys a story real quick. I was playing with one of our community members in Final Fantasy 14, convinced him to actually download the free trial, and I noticed that he keeps on fighting enemies, like over and over, and I was like, why are you doing this? Why are you just killing everything and stuff? He's like, well, because I kind of figured that's what you do, right? In MMOs, like, no. You can run away from enemies and stuff. You don't have to fight everything. He's like, oh, really? How do you do that? Think about that question.
Yeah.
How do you run away from enemies in an MMO? This is from somebody who's never played an MMO before. Like,
now, were they familiar with RPGs?
Yes.
Okay.
But there's
grindy ones, I guess.
There's no run button, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. Yelta's right. There's no run command that you can literally pick from like a set of menu items. So how do you run? Well, I explained to him, no, you literally run. And guess what happened after that? I'm wondering if you guys can guess what happened after this, because now
was sprint gone down.
Oh no. That's even advanced, Yelta. That's way advanced.
He ran to the next city. I don't know. What did he do?
So he was fighting one of those carry-ons like in East Shroud and stuff like that, and it was chasing him, right? And then he thought that he could cheese it, because like when the carry-on, when enemies reset, they basically go back to their old location, but they're invulnerable, right? And then they get all their health back. So he decided to cheese it, quote unquote, by running away from it, and as it's going back to reset its location, to try to hit it and kill it, not realizing that its health was resetting all the way through. Like, and I watched him for like 5-10 minutes, and I'm like, he's just getting his life back, right? He's like, oh, is he? And I'm like, there's a life bar like underneath this freaking name, man. He's like, I wasn't looking. I'm like, so these are the kinds of things that are very simple to us, like for people who are very like kind of educated or used to like MMOs and stuff like that. But a regular person who comes into this game, they have no idea what the hell they're doing, and the game doesn't even tell you, like, because that's like, that's the genre norm. Excuse me. Right. And these are the kinds of lessons that you can learn when you watch like my videos. Is I will literally hold your hand if you need to, and I will run you through the entirety of your Realm Reborn experience. and even actually explaining like the end game, like how the tokens work, how the tombstones work, and and because really, like, I think one of the biggest problems that people have is that like they're used to playing other games that kind of really coddle you through, whereas like MMOs have this kind of standard now that that you can kind of carry over. um One of the people that I talked to and stuff about, like, actually, like, January this year, because she said she quit Final Fantasy, is that she was like, she didn't know like if she was doing any of the abilities wrong, and she started off as a marauder, and back then the marauder rotation was is all right, it's not too complicated, but she never really got the notion that she was playing the class right. And to me, like, that's really disappointing, because this might be a fringe case, but I can't imagine. I can only imagine so many other people. Really?
I don't think it's a fringe case across the board, because there's so many people that go into content and they just don't know their rotation, or they think they're doing well and they're not. I mean, you see the Reddit posts, and a lot of times they're on like shit posts and they're funny things. But if you kind of strip out the comedy aspect, or laughing at somebody's, inability to do something, you do have a problem with people that don't realize what their rotation is. And I don't understand that fully, because I'm the type of person that'll go hit a dummy a million times and still feel like they're not doing what's
Google
right.
It. Let me Google that.
Yeah, or and there's resources out there. You go to the Balance Discord, or you go somewhere to look something up, and you wonder what these people are actually doing. So I appreciate like what you said, like somebody here may not really want to look at your videos because they may be too advanced, but I think you overestimate our audience, Alex.
well, and
I can't.
And it's really funny, because I remember when I started Final Fantasy 11. For some reason, I got it. Somehow I got in. I'm a healer. I figured stuff out, and back then you couldn't just Google a guide for the most part. I don't think Google existed, but then I convinced my sister Kariri to come play, and she picked, I don't know what it was. It was a tank class. Must have been a paladin. So she's like, she like soloed mobs and whatever till she hit 10 or 12, and then we went to the dunes, and we got into a party, and she didn't even know she was a tank. And she almost quit the game that night because people are yelling at her, and she's like, I don't know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I didn't even know I'm a tank. And I'm like, I am so sorry. I did not communicate. I did not. And this is my sister, my real life sister. It's just kind of, if she didn't have me to tell her, oh no, I'm sorry, here's what you need to do and whatever, as far as I understand it, it's easy for people to say, well, if you don't know, ask. Well, then it's like, well, sometimes you don't even know what questions to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and I totally can relate to that, because I've restarted characters specifically for this video series, and even then it is so not clear which ones are like of what roles. Like, you have Marauder, you have all these lists of things, but it's like, what are their roles? So like, one of the very first videos that I made for this video series is all about roles. Not even the classes, mind you. I'm not even talking about the jobs.
Just the roles itself.
Yeah. Just literally the roles. And I break it down by saying, well, this is your expectation of the tank. And I wrote, and the tank is something that I kind of wanted to stress, because I've been seeing a lot of tanks that are too timid to pull. And I'm like thinking to myself, you're the leader. You're the pacemaker. Like, you have to basically be the front runner of everybody, because you're responsible for keeping all of these like intact, if you will. So, and I put that in the script, right? And then the healers, like, what their responsibility is. And the funny thing too is that I even added snippets of what's really going on even in the community for healers, right? Like, like the never ending question of like, well, do healers need to DPS? And I actually literally inserted that into the script, saying like, yeah, there's been a long running conversation about whether healers need a DPS, and the tip that I gave is like, just be careful with making sure like you fulfill your primary role as a healer. Then if you want to dabble in DPS, then go for it, because it's the DPS rotation is not really that complicated for healers at this point. And then even for the DPS, I broke it down into the main three that Yoshi P and crew have basically broken it down and stuff. And I kind of borrowed some of the definitions that they have on there, and just kind of explaining like how each role like kind of functions. And what's great is that I got a comment saying like, wow, I haven't even downloaded a free trial yet, but I know what I want to do. I know what class I want to, I want to try out and stuff. And, I even broke down which jobs are actually available depending on like what expansion you need, that sort of thing. So it was like a very clear indication of like, hey, if you don't know if you want to damage deal or heal or tank, here it is. We've broken it down, And then the next part of that is the creating a character part, which is, people look at that video and they're like, why do you need a tutorial for creating a character? Well, let me tell you, because they'll ask for your birthday, they'll ask for a god that you have to worship, and there's racial stats. Does that matter? No, it doesn't. Like it's like these are kinds of questions that could stop anybody from making just one character in the game, because now they have to look it up on the internet and figure out things. Why can't I create a character on this server? When is it going to be free? Like
there's all over Reddit right now. My friends are all on whatever, but the game is so popular right now. It's like, I'm sorry, I can't fix it, but the server's full.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. I make the explanation, and I even talk about World Visit there because it's an appropriate venue. It's like, yeah, you can't create a character in the same server as your friends, but there's an alternative. You can make like you can't be in their FC or whatever, but you can make a character on a different server and still play with your friends. At the very least, that is an option that we have right now, which to me like is a really cool feature. It's not 100% perfect, but we're getting there, right? Like we're getting there at least. So anyways, like I realize I've been yapping my ass off.
No, this was your section.
That's why you're here. That's why you're here.
Okay.
Talk.
Yeah. But so my goal, just to kind of cap everything and stuff, my goal is to basically make these videos so short but so full and packed with info that you can, and I said this in my first video, so you can spend less time watching my videos and spend more time actually playing the game. Because I hate it when I have to look up something about Final Fantasy 14 or any game. And it's like a simple thing of like, where's this item? And it's a 10-minute video. Why does it have to be 10 minutes? Give me a good reason.
Yeah, I don't like those at all.
Yeah. And
waste of time.
So like the roles video that I talked about, that's 4 minutes long.
Oh, see, that's perfect. I go like Google how to do something in Minecraft, and then I get like a 19-minute video for an automated chicken farm, and I'm like, no. I'm gonna click on the 3-minute one that gives you the simple one.
Yeah, and then like the character creation video I made was like 3 minutes. It's like you don't need to have these overly long explanations. It's just right there, and I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback, especially from people who want to download the free trial. But here's the catch. I haven't made the tutorials yet for like the combat and the levels, and they're waiting until those are out before they download the free trial. No. So yeah, but it's great because, to quote one of the people who commented, he said like, I'm waiting for those videos to come out because since you have it on a playlist, I can literally watch, everything in about like maybe 15, 20 minutes or maybe half hour, depending on how long the later ones are. And I have a clear grasp of what I'm getting into, and I don't think, and that's really my goal, is that you come into Final Fantasy 14 kind of armed with the knowledge that, that you would have otherwise have to ask somebody else, like that are kind of social norms, if you will, that you, me, and, the rest of the community already know. So that way they're like, all right, it feels like they've been playing for like 4 years. And that's really what I'm doing, is I'm passing all this knowledge for the past 5 years and putting into somebody else who's brand new, not overwhelm them, but just give them enough so that they could be competent if they need to talk about the game and stuff like that. So yeah.
I see a lot of people really worried that they will screw something up or miss something and have to re-roll. I see that a lot, and I wish more people would realize that it doesn't matter. It might matter for your first 10 levels, but it literally doesn't matter what town you start in. It literally doesn't matter what class you picked as your starting class. It literally doesn't matter what your appearance looks like, because you can re-roll. Some of that other stuff might cost money to like do a new name or whatever, or you could delete and start a new character, but they've made this game, there's not like anything you can completely screw up by doing 2 quests out of order. So I always I'm like, I see it all the time. People are like, well, just relax. Racial stats don't matter. They're, so much of it doesn't matter. Just play. And I see it on Reddit all the time. I'm installing the game now. I have a free month. How do I, maximize my time or whatever? Or what do you wish you knew when you started? And I get it. I get that apprehension. But the way that this game is designed is that you literally cannot fuck yourself over.
Right. Yeah.
For the most part. You can miss maybe a seasonal event.
And you can buy it the next year.
Yeah, there's stuff you can miss, but there's not really anything you can miss completely. And now when we're going to get New Game Plus, hopefully, that will be how it solves some of my, I never talked to that NPC in between 2 MSQs and missed what they said. Right. Yeah. So hopefully it will matter less. So people relax and play it how you want to play it.
Exactly. And I want to say it like this because I thought this was really funny. In the Rolls video, I actually had the perfect footage of the basic party comp, like in a dungeon. And I never noticed this the first time through, because also the first time through for me is like 2014, right? That Edda's party is literally right outside Sastasha before you get in.
Right.
They're just right there. So I decided for my video, I'm just going to be like, well, here's an example of a party. There's a Ver, he's a tank. There's Edda, there's a healer. Yeah, she's kind of tired. And there's the other 2 DPS. There you go. And you literally, and for the people who are curious, you would literally see them. And I actually put like labels on top of them as I'm talking about each role. And it's just so funny. Like everybody who gets the joke when they watch it, and they're like, why did you pick that group? They suck. And I'm like, yeah, but like it's almost
true.
Like I'm yeah, but also I'm kind of hinting at people that that maybe these guys that I'm showing, there's an ulterior motive to that. Maybe they'll see it again later and stuff, and that's content that's easily missable, right? Like you want to talk about like that's part of the MSQ where after you complete Sastasha, they're gone.
Well, what's easily missable is the context behind the whole thing and what they're trying to represent. And there's a lot of
healers, and she goes crazy because
there's that angle as well. But there's a lot of little things like, what is it, the healer in the storyline that refuses to DPS or something, and there's those little
you can't make her.
Yeah, there's
a meme at this point.
You don't pay my sub, she says to the Padgel. There's little things like that throughout the game I think those are overlooked greatly. But there's lots of little stories throughout the game that people miss.
I do like that now. I was running another character through. I had just started a new character. I was running it through storyline, and they literally now, before you hit, it's probably pirates. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go. They no longer even make it optional. You have to go to the Hall of the Novice. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do it. You don't have to participate. But you have to go hand in a quest there. Mm-hmm. So pretty much the game is like, you should do this.
Yeah.
So
we'll give you a ring, for God's sake.
Get the ring, and some of that stuff is good gear, better than anything that drops in those first 3 dungeons.
Mm-hmm. That ring, though, like Ruby is right. That ring is amazing. Like I looked at it because I ran 2 of my characters through there, and I'm like, oh my god, this ring is amazing.
You legit can wear that gear, that ring, and the weathered accessories to 30 and be fine. You will be A-okay. And then around the 32 mark, you need to start collecting the stuff from Brayflocks and things of that nature, all the way to 50. Get your 50 gear, and then it's go on from there. So, they feed it to you. I don't know how else they can put it in your face.
There's a lot of stuff easy to miss, though. I know a lot of people don't realize that Poetics gear at 50, 60, and 70 now. It's confusing on like upgrade items. Mm-hmm. That's in fact, I was surprised that when they made that stuff buyable, they didn't just make it so you could buy the upgraded items, because fuck it.
Yeah, it is really weird, and the things that you're talking about, like that are all the things that I want to cover for my videos. And I understand that you can't be a new adventurer forever, but my goal is to basically transition these people from like only playing single player RPGs to being like experts or at least like, like more well to do by the time they finish A Realm Reborn. Because, like my thinking is like, well, the poetics are kind of like training for the end game, right? Like you're going to get a buttload of those like by the time you get the Shadowbringers and stuff. And that will continue even into the future, like there'll be a time where Shadowbringers will get down to poetics and, and the cycle continues. And I want to make sure that everybody also gets that, like if you try to rush through the game of your own volition, skipping cutscenes and stuff, that might not be the kind of experience that you might enjoy, because there are, this is the developers have been very clear. This is a story-based game.
It's a Final Fantasy game.
Right.
Yeah, and it's important to me to kind of convey that. In fact, like the first video I made, to watch this first, it's like, yeah, this is a story-based game, and not saying like there's a wrong way to play the game, but if you skip through this stuff, you might not like it. And I had a friend who actually skipped through the entirety of A Realm Reborn, and by the time he went to Heavensward, he did the story, and then he missed all of the story that's connected to Heavensward and A Realm Reborn. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the entire thing that you just missed, man. That's a lot of crap.
All that Shiva stuff, that's kind of important.
Yeah. Yeah, leading up to that. So, but yeah, that's the long and short of it. I make guides for the people who want to play Final Fantasy 14 but don't have the courage to. So I'm trying to give them the courage to take up a controller, which that's the thing too. I'm focusing on the most unlikeliest pairings of things that you could ever enter Final Fantasy 14 with. Sorry, I'm not going to play this on a Mac, but the second best is like a PS4 and a controller. So I'm starting there. And so a lot of my guides are literally like coaxing console players into like trying an MMO out for the first time. And so far it's been working great. So I'm kudos to them, to the brave ones.
How is the Novice Network over there? Because it's a steaming pile of trash on our data center. Because that's one of my worst things is brand new MMO players who have never played an online game with a community. How do you make your break in? That's one thing I'd be awesome if you could go. How do you make your break into the community? How do you befriend a few people and get a link shell where you can ask questions and then maybe get into a free company that we have someone who just joined the game. I don't know, what's it been, like a month or two? And she's just hit Shadowbringers and she's never played an MMO. She's a heavy gamer, never played MMOs before. She has lots of questions, lots of kind of like misconceptions. She's been like soloing everything unsynced, but she's also had us in Discord and in game chatting with her and trying to help her. But, someone who's, not as outgoing. It's hot. If the Novice Network can't help you, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this is kind of repositioning what an MMO is to a lot of these new people, right? Because the whole idea of even playing something that is subscription based is something that they have to overcome themselves. Like, I've been trying to crack the code of why the subscription for Final Fantasy 14 is justified, but no matter the kind of justifications that I make, and no matter if it makes sense or not, that a lot of these people just won't do it, because subscriptions are somehow seen as like a negative, whereas you pay for you pay $40 for like 2 expansion packs of Destiny 2, and that's okay, not knowing that they priced it in such a way that you're technically paying like a monthly fee anyway.
Yeah. I've got season passes to Arc and other games where it's basically the sub fee for that 18 months or whatever anyway, so.
Yeah, you get it. So, and as far as like this notion is concerned, like the way that I would describe it to people who try the game out and then when they get into their first instance, because I know that the novice, the Hall of the Novice exists and stuff, but the way that I'm going to be teaching people how to do their first instance is actually through this very less used, instance as of late called a guild hest. You guys remember what a guild hest is?
I queue up for guild hests when I'm trying to relearn jobs all the time because they're simple
and low impact.
They're low impact. They're short. basically the only one that can make most people rage are the gill turtle one, and then the one with all the guys who have to die at the same time.
Oh God, I hate that one. I hate that one. That's terrible. But for me, like the level 10 experience starts with, like especially a party experience starts with the guild hest. And to me it is so insane that the Hall of the Novice doesn't even start at 10 and that you can actually miss the guild hests. That is insane to me.
Yeah.
Like I can't even fathom that. And so, my 6 to 10 kind of tutorial is going to be like, well, get the guild hest. Like, it kind of, by allowing people to go into guild hest, it kind of, allows them to make mistakes, and to be okay with it, to kind of learn that, yeah, this is only like a 3-minute thing, but like, you get to spread your wings and kind of be comfortable partying with complete strangers. And then, my approach is to recontextualize that as like, like these guys just love the game as much as you are, or they're really passionate about it, or they're just fans of Final Fantasy like you, or fans of Square Enix. So, if, like you could simply say like, I love Chrono Trigger, or shout that somewhere. I'm pretty sure somebody say, I love that, or somebody says it's overrated, whatever, but the fact of the matter is you've reached out. And part of that experience of the guild hests, like one of the things that I'm going to recommend them do is to just say hi.
Yep.
It is such a very simple thing. Just say hi, leave it at that. Even if you never talk to them ever again, just say hi, because that's just basic etiquette and just kind of, and it's so simple to do. Like that's like freaking 4 buttons.
Mm-hmm. My husband only does yes. He just nods. His character, that's all his character ever does when he goes into any content. He nods. Wow. And his character, he's a row, and he goes, this is the sound he makes.
Yeah. It'll get you commendations at least, if you say that.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing too, right? Commendations, the challenge log. If you really think about the entire 115 experience, it's very overwhelming, right? Like, there's just a lot of content that gets unlocked.
Yeah. Our new girl, she was like, she was like, the game throws 50,000 systems at you, and we're like, yeah, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. But about guild hests, I like, because guild hests are run by, there's always an NPC that's telling you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's not really just throwing you to the wolves. It's kind of, usually there's a pop-up that tells you what the strategy is, and then there's usually some text popping up saying, tank, maybe you should grab that thing, or whatever,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing too, is like, it's very easy to kind of, like neglect those or kind of ignore those and stuff, especially when you're in a moment. Because, like one of the things that I noticed when I went with my friend in the guild hest is that they're kind of they kind of felt like they're like a deer in headlights, because they're like, what's going on? Why did you pull the enemies already? What's happening? Because, especially in guild hest, yeah, you have the pop-up, but we're already attacking the things while the pop-up is in your face. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's so overwhelming, and it's just immediately like, it's such a stark difference from the soloing experience in the MSQ to like a group experience, right? And it's, again, it's a lot of like, hey, do a couple of these, be comfortable, and then let me introduce you to the concept of roulettes, and it's interesting because I will be introducing the concept of roulettes literally at like level 10. So that at the very least, I can start kind of ingraining that information, saying like, do your roulettes, do your roulettes, do your roulettes, like kind of so that people have
daily, log in, do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And really, and this is, and we can talk about actually like the entire, process of leveling in Final Fantasy 14. It's a lot more complicated than people think it is, because it's like right now, like what we had to worry about going from like 70 to 80 herp derp, like it's so easy. But, going from 1 to 15 is a very huge ordeal for people, so I hope that, with my videos and stuff, like that'll ease the burden on a lot of these guys. So that's really my goal, and for them to enjoy the game, and, to get to the end, because there's so much at the end that they'd probably be missing if they didn't, push through to the end. Because heaven forbid, right? That Company of Heroes storyline at around level 30 is such a humdinger of a story.
Yeah. We have hope now, though. They talked about, compacting some quests. So maybe.
I know, but what am I gonna say? Like, hey, man, sorry, but you gotta wait until April 2020 until like the main storyline makes sense. Jeez.
Well, we're all saying now, just charge through it. Just suck it up and do it.
Yeah.
Make those sandwiches. Get that cheese.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I actually watched One Piece. You guys know One Piece,
familiar,
right?
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. They're at 900 episodes now.
Yikes.
They've been going on for at least a decade. There's a website called Anime Filler List, and what they do is they basically like tell you which episodes are in the anime that's canonical, which ones are filler, that came from the comic or the manga, and then what's filler just exclusively for the anime. And so you can have a list of episodes that if you just want to stick to the story, you have to watch. And actually, the funny thing is I've actually toyed with the idea of just telling people like, this MSQ, go just blow through it. Like, go pay attention.
Just hit go.
Right.
Yeah. I watched Dragon Ball the same way. There's someone who's like basically pulled all the filler shit where they're just powering up for 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much more digestible than that.
Yeah. And hopefully I can do it, but I feel like I'm already too far in the game that I'd need to roll another character and actually roll a character for each of the 3 cities to figure out where the filler is. But yeah, it's rough, man. That experience.
To 15, I've done all 3 cities, and to 15, it's really just shades of the same thing. So yeah, it's there's not really much to skip, but there's also not that much to do.
Yeah. I have a lot of ideas about that. Just in the event that people want to skip the 1 to 15 experience, I have a pretty good idea of what to say for that. Because you're right, it is very samey, even though it starts in a different area. So, but yeah, that's what I've been up to, and I guess avoiding extremes and avoiding savages, if you can count that. Yeah.
Don't avoid them.
Don't avoid it. It's fun.
I wish you were at your data center, because I'd be like, let's
drag your ass in.
Hey, you know what? Like, if you guys were I would totally be down. My wife will be down. A whole bunch of her friends will be down. But, circumstances prohibit us right now from actually data center visiting you guys.
Yeah.
But,
I do have a character in every data center, and my actual goal is to eventually get all of them to max level, geared out at least to do extremes. But
I see.
That's a long play.
I will tell you though, like I want to do Dying Gasp, like as a minstrel's ballad, because that fight I felt like
I'm sure that's coming. Has to come.
My body wants it.
Yeah, I thought it was a 5.1 thing, right?
It is.
Sure. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, can't wait. See, that one I'll do. I remember back in 2014 when I started Final Fantasy, I beat a Realm Reborn, and I was like, I'm going to try this Minstrel's Ballad Ultima's Bane. Let's see what this is all about. Not knowing, like, it's a harder version of the fight, and I was just like, that was my first experience of Extreme. Like, totally blindly going in there, no friggin' idea what's going on, and dying a lot in the process. But, surprisingly enough, nobody quit, and we managed to clear it, so, it wasn't that bad, I guess.
So where do you stand on, like, pony farming and doggo farming and all that? Are you into that?
I'm into it when there's a new expansion.
So after you're very strong compared to it.
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
I mean, okay, so I'm okay if we have a set group, but I am the kind of person, you guys are going to hate me for this, especially all the mid-core players. I hate statics. I already hear the grumbling out there.
Say why. Tell us why you hate statics.
Time is a huge commodity in the West, and already dedicating and trying to get, well, no, not necessarily, but trying to get 8 people or more, depending on like how many, what you're doing, to be on a specific time so that you guys can complete something for another specific set of time, and blocking it can feel unrealistic and inflexible in a way. I don't know how you do it, or like with kids and stuff like that, but like,
it's hard.
You and I need to talk about that, because I think that's actually a very important conversation, especially for people who are interested in doing Extremes and Savage, because I'm not going to pretend that these new adventurers aren't going to want to try Extreme or Savage, but I've always find that fascinating the idea of statics and stuff like that. And I do appreciate that that's, that is, something that a lot of people pursue. But like one of the other avenues that I recommend is social engineering, which is literally go into the Discord of that data center and ask people if there's a way that you guys can, practice or even like do it together. That way, like it could be very spontaneous if possible, and you're not kind of dogging on somebody's time, like, and that's kind of the thing that's interesting is, with the conversations between a lot of the more, like a lot of the content creators of Final Fantasy 14 and especially the Eden raid, right? Like the Eden raid allegedly is like very, is a pain to party finder because of some of the mechanics and some of the checks that they have involved. I have no context of this. I've never done Savage, but seeing the actual mechanics of each of the fights, I can kind of understand what's going on. And and we all know Mr. Happy, like he broke down every single Eden fight in Savage in terms of, but not in terms of mechanics, but in terms of personal responsibility. And right. I really, really like that video because he kind of explained why E2S is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, in fact, like, oh, we're on E2S currently. We're progging that, and we actually successfully got, I think, around the 50% mark second flares this week, which we were like, watch a video up to first flare.
Up to first flares, yes. I felt really good. I felt really good about our progress.
Yeah, so that was nice. But I've been watching his videos. There's many videos to watch, but I've actually been watching Mr. Happy's videos, and I really like how he broke E2S down. And it's all about personal responsibility. So I do understand how pugging in Eden Savage can be very difficult. I won't get into the whole family aspect with these just here. I think that's a good conversation. I will say if you decide to do a static, you have to understand that it's more than just preparing yourself for the fight. It's also working with other people. So you do, as the static goes and time goes on, that dynamic changes. Everybody's real happy and gung-ho at the beginning. And then 5 weeks in, 6 weeks in, whatever, when people are absent or when situations occur or somebody's maybe's not pulling their weight that week or somebody has a headache or they're bitching about something else or whatever else. Yeah. It's all about like
sleepy. We've gotten people who are like, I'm not feeling it this week.
So you have to deal with all those kind of things too, and that's the stuff that can really get you down when you're in a static. It's not so much, God, we can't clear flare or we can't do this. That will get you down, but then also the attitudes of the other people when things don't go the way you want it to. There's some people who are like, look, we need to be 5 minutes early. And then there's always the 5 minute late people. Even those little things will eat at you, and then by week 10, 12, you're like, I want to kill these people.
Yeah, like I'm not going to say it's exclusive to statics, right? But it's, trying to defeat like really hard content can be an act of attrition, and I don't necessarily think that we've solved the problem yet of like allowing players who really love difficult content to be able to pair up with people who, are also of equal skill. Because Party Finder is great because you can kind of type whatever you want and all that stuff, but it doesn't guarantee you like the skill of your like party and stuff. And there's really no good measure. Like a lot of people say like, oh, DPS checks and third party crap, whatever, but that doesn't save you from terrible mechanics that kill you. Like the DPS can only get you so much in this game, and then it's like, oh, you didn't dodge 5 freaking AoEs that literally kills you every single time you somehow revive. What is wrong, And yeah, and there's a variety of different factors, but at the same time, I'm not going to discourage the practice of statics because that's how it's been, right? Like for the genre. So, but I feel like I need to, when I do talk about these things in my videos, I feel like I need to kind of explain to people the social aspects of it and how it could be like a battle of attrition, in the long term, and just to kind of realize that, that this is a commitment, not just for you, but now you're affecting a whole group of people, like 8 people, including yourself, very important.
A lot of it has to do, in my mind, with setting expectations, whether you're pugging it completely, joining, or creating the party and describing where you're at with it. A blind party is different than a learning party is different than a progression party, which is different than a clear party, which is different than a farm party. And you have to be specific. You have to have enough experience to know where you are in that fight. You have to know that you are bringing your best game face. You're bringing potions and food and gear and whatever. I cleared both Innocence and Titania EX in blind parties. No, I take it back. I started with a blind party and then went to like a clear party or something because I had seen Enraged a bunch of times. But the community kind of has loose descriptions of these phases. There's definitely a scale of what's a clear party. I've joined clear parties, or I've joined farm parties that are like, what?
Yeah.
Or even learning parties. Oh, well, mostly clear parties that people are asking about just super basic stuff make me rage. But that's more about, and then, are you joining, look at your co-healer who is just wearing terrible equipment, because if you queue up as a group, it doesn't check.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me, I was doing, I think we were doing, I think the burn for a roulette the other day, and this tank had like level 60 gear on. Yeah, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be bad.
That is one of my huge pet peeves. Is I know it eye level checks you to queue up for some stuff, but not other stuff. I think anything storyline it doesn't check. So basically, you can like join with glamour gear on some of these dungeons, and people get really defensive. Well, literally, I can't heal you out of it if you're wearing that gear.
Yeah, and please don't do big pulls.
Yeah. There's some things that I really think they could do. The developers could do to make it better for everyone. As the healer, I can carry a lot, right? I can damage a lot. I can, if I'm overgeared, but there should be a minimum viable party comp, and the game's like, no.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean a scholar, so yeah, I know the feeling. I know the feeling all too well.
All right, let's move on. Let's see, Ruby, what have you been doing this week?
Oh God, same old shit.
Same shit, different day.
Same shit, different day. I talked a little bit about it while we were just talking. We did E1S. That's 4 pages for me, but I'm not buying anything just yet. I'm gonna wait. And see what drops next week, and then I'll see if I need to buy anything at that stage. E2S Prague, we watched up to first flare on the video. We got to second flare in practice, so nice. I've got a little bit more to watch, and I guess it's what's that mechanic we're supposed to watch? Quietus. So I gotta watch that stuff to figure out where we're at. But I'm very happy with the progress we made. I was super impressed with our group, so bravo. And we did some PvP, but I'll let Yelta talk about some of that so I don't steal her thunder. But we had a really fun Monday night PvP, and I got bloodthirsty per usual whenever I get in there.
You're like, I bound him,
kill them. I was playing Bard, and I never play Bard, but I need the experience. I'm trying to level it with Cinna, who just hit Ilmeg. So that's great. Nice. And she's around 74, so my Bard is getting almost to 73, so we can kind of do stuff together. But what Bard's got is some of those old things that I liked about Healer, where you could like cast stone and put heavy on somebody. Well, I'm just like putting heavy and binding people, so I'm like, get the Astrologian! Get the Ninja! So marking them and then binding them and all that good stuff, and I love it. It was good. We did that about 7 times. It was fun.
It was fun.
We had a good time. So I think we're going to do it again this next Monday. Stay tuned for that. We got to get the GARO stuff. It's running out. We're running out of time.
Yeah.
So
5.1, right?
5.1. That's it. 5.1. It's over. So gotta get it in now while you can get it. But Yeah, that's it. I really didn't buy any extra gear, nothing. Everything's going to kind of come to a head next week when I can buy the weapon. I might pull the trigger on earrings if it doesn't drop next week. And really, I should shoot up in eye levels, which will give us an edge on E2S. I think a few of us are going to shoot up next week by getting weapons. We didn't really count numbers fast on E2S because we're progressing it, but once we see Enrage, it's time to lick our fingers and see where we're at, and I'm sure that new book and other new weapons that we're getting will help us. So, yeah, that was really my week. Yelta, what did you do?
Oh, initially I was like, man, I didn't really do anything, and then I'm like, oh wait, I did. I did. I went to an in-game birthday party. Nice. Me
too.
Well, it doesn't have, you didn't, and it was there. And yeah. I don't do a lot of non-murdering in this game. So it was kind of nice to like go to someone's personal house and wander around. And she said, let's go down into the hot tubs in the basement. And we all put our swimsuits on. Let's go up on the roof. And we spent 45 minutes getting everyone up on the roof, and that we watched the fireworks and took screenshots, and we wished people happy birthday, and it was happy birthday Brock and Panda from the Crossrolling Show. Brock's in our free company, and it was just kind of fun. It was just fun. I don't role play, but it just kind of felt like just people, adventurers doing something other than murdering stuff. And just chatting and having a good time. I used a lot of what is the wine? Realm Red or whatever. What's the red wine? I sprayed a lot of people with wine, champagne. Ooh. It was just fun. We switched our glamours a lot and took a lot of screenshots and did lots of emotes. It was very different for me because I'm just like queue up and murder stuff. So
wow,
I did. I did a schedule and ran a map party. Nice. There was a call for doing more events in the free companies. So I'm like, all right, I can't hold any more maps. So, well, actually, I was already like, I can't hold any more maps. We need to do a map party.
I got a quick story about this.
Yeah, go for it.
I didn't realize, I'm not the kind of person who reads all the patch notes and then remember everything. My group and I literally just started doing map stuff like at the end of Stormblood. Not joking. Like literally Heavensward stuff, Stormblood stuff. But knowing that, the Eden patches were going to have treasure maps, we actually did a couple of them. And the first one we actually got to the 4th room. And just by sheer luck, obviously. But, man, like we got so much good loot. So much fun, like those maps.
Well, and it's not super hard, so you can like chit chat in voice, and you can, maybe play an off class, and you don't even need 8 people to do it. So if someone logs in later, you can invite them. It's just you make quite a bit of money, and you get to roll on, fairly rare items. Yeah. We got to the final room of the newest maps twice, and that was nice. Nice. And take some screenshots. I enjoyed myself quite a bit. It was fun. We did that one of the times we got to the last floor. The last chest gave us that high-low game where it has 2 cards, and
those are fun.
It's like too much pressure, but like Bell Dandy was in voice chat. He's like, don't wuss out, just pick. And he's like, this should be high and this should be low. I hadn't actually been the picker before, so I had to actually learn the game and understand the odds and whatever, and it was fun. And there's that feeling of gambling, but if you lose it all, honestly, my group anyway wouldn't have hated you forever or anything.
Yeah.
But like one of the floors, we made like 600K just that floor.
Dang.
Ooh. Wow.
Right. Oh, by the way, Rubicon, we decided because you weren't there is why we did good.
Yeah, that's always the case. If I go, it's going to fuck up and we won't get past the first floor. So you're welcome.
We did not get that many portals, though.
Oh.
It was kind of... Well, and then people were comparing it to the drops on the highest maps from Stormblood. And I'm like, yeah, but there were 8-man maps before the highest maps, and we don't have the equivalent of Thieves maps yet, whatever. And we did do maps for other people who had like older ones in their they had already deciphered and stuff. So, but no, I had fun. It was a good time. I made some monies. I think I capped my tomes that way, honestly.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's nice. I'm hoping to do a map party. I don't want to promise I'm going to run. So we're already doing Eden on Mondays. Or I'm sorry, on Tuesdays. We're doing Eden's Tuesday. Podcast is Wednesday. We've been doing PvP on Mondays, like a map party on like Thursday or Saturday or something. I don't really want to put myself on the hook to be like, I'm hosting all this shit. But it's nice if they're in the calendar and I can join or not. Or I'll host a couple, every other week or whatever. So hopefully we'll see more events go up.
Mm-hmm.
Eden 1? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, it's just so nice that, like even for for casual people and stuff, like they could do maps. Like that's just all I was gonna say, because even then it's so funny, because like you can get so trapped in the in the mouse wheel of like trying to get Tomestone's cap and then leave the game, and but one of the number one questions that I get for my videos is, how do you make money? And I'm like, bro, treasure chests, man. Like, those treasure maps, man. Those are perfect for you.
Well, some of those older maps that no one's running, that shit is worth so much right now. And even like Palace of the Dead and Heaven on High, they have drops that are sellable, but no one's doing it right now. The same for Eureka. If you have any, and Eureka, people have started filtering back in there, is my understanding, right? So a lot of people have finished Shadowbringer storyline. They've leveled a few jobs up to 80 and done the role quests. They've done the crafters and gatherers. And now they're kind of like, well, now what? And even casual players, it's like, well, now what do I do? I'm not going to do EX, or maybe I'll dabble in it, and I'm not going to do Savage. Some of that older content still has some valuable stuff. So,
yeah, good stuff.
In the last week, I think we did Eden 1. Last week we did it once, and then we did it a couple more times to get some more free company people through. We don't have a superset static. We kind of have people we have given a role that's like, I'm comfortable raiding with you. Now, mind you, we haven't assigned all the people I'm comfortable raiding with it yet, but I know. No one listening to this, if you haven't gotten the role, that doesn't mean I don't want to raid with you. But I also don't want too many people in the pool where, people are like, why didn't I get to go? So there's a balancing act there. I can take 8 people. That's it.
Yep.
So, but Eden 1, I think people are happy just getting clears. I'm happy to go and help people get pages. And that's awesome. And then we did go into 2, and like Ruby said, we got way further as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to whoever that pug was who joined us, who's like, he's seen 9% a lot. And then we like he got into the voice chat on Discord, and I kept saying a couple times, I'm like, thanks for coming out and whatever. You're probably frustrated with us being new. And they were like, no, man, this is all like practice. And I'm like, I feel that, because even after I cleared Titania EX and Innocence EX, I wouldn't join farm parties because I still didn't feel like I understood everything perfectly. So I join stuff. I join clear parties all the time, or learning parties or whatever, just because I get more practice. So I'm really, I don't know if we grabbed them for the Crossworld Link show or anything, but they were great. They were patient. And I've seen so many parties where the one pug shows up and they're either a complete asshole or whatever. This person was like giving advice, explaining mechanics, and some of it was stuff we already knew, but we welcomed it. We're adults who can take instruction.
Yeah.
It's really nice to make a free company link cross-rolling shows full of people you can just shout out, hey, I need 1 DPS for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we dragged in somebody into Eden 1.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's why I joined a Discord for our data center, because I felt like while and God, we're gonna get like another freaking social tool like in 5.1 called circles. I don't even know how the hell that's gonna work.
I don't understand what that's gonna be. They're like, it's like a club. You can just like schedule something and show up, or all I can think of is like what do they call those where they're like flash mobs or something? That's all I can think of.
Yeah, it's what is it, like a pager that goes off at a certain time? Like it's just weird, but like I feel like they could still improve a lot of these tools, right? Like the social factor of like trying to pair up with people of equal talent and stuff. But I always feel like, why confine it in the game, right? Like they did so much work like trying to make like the Final Fantasy 14 app function somehow. Yeah, exactly. But like, but outside, you need to have a tool outside of that. And so like I like after basically not being able to finish like Titania Extreme because people just give up easily, like like I said, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna go join like our Discord for our data center. And a lot of people were like really happy to be to help out. Like they're like, yeah, the mechanics. I'm like, yeah, we died at like 3%. Like that's the furthest we ever did, and my when my wife and I know the mechanics, and all that stuff. So so a lot of those people are like, yeah, man, like just hit us up and this weekend or something, and we'll do it. And those are the kinds of people that if you want to try like difficult content, like these are the people that can really help you out, like and it's great that I found a community like that. I don't know how it is. I'm pretty sure Ether has one because I was in one. Primal, pretty sure they have one too. So there's more than one way to find these people. But I don't think a lot of people know that especially newbies, that there's all these different places where you can find people to help you out.
Our true wish is that they would add some sort of calendar of inviting kind of schedule or thing directly to the fucking game, because I keep hearing people being like, well, yeah, we're using Discord to do stuff, and then but not everyone uses Discord, and I'm like, well, okay, I'll also put it on the website. We have a engine site, and it's like, but not everyone wants to go to sign up to events on that, and we have to double post anything we do, and it's like I don't know if it was in the game, if it was actually coded in the game, and I could send out invites like a wedding invite or something. I don't know. I really would be such a huge quality of life improvement. The party finder is great. The party finder is really, really good. Right. I can describe what I want to do. You can search for what you want to do. You can try to find the party that matches you. But, it's not, it's almost there.
Yeah, almost. Not quite. I don't think Circles is going to solve that problem either.
No, Circles seems like a flash mob thing or something to me. I want to hear more. When are they supposed to tell us more about it? They said they were gonna.
I don't know. Probably they said they were gonna. I don't know when.
Yeah.
Because if it's something useful, I'd love to do it. But again, different kinds of content requires different kinds of standards for entering. Right? And, whatever.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I find that, like, finding people outside, like, on Discord, and quite frankly, like, and this is just me, right? I might be doing things wrong, but if I were making a static, if I did, like, I'd want to vet them first, right? Like, and kind of see, like, their personalities and just kind of hang out with them and stuff. Because, like, for me, like, that's, a lot of statics, then the reason why they fail is a lot of social like disagreements and all that stuff, right? Like, so you got to find like the people who are really, who won't give up, like who really
they have to mesh with the group, right? Yeah. All 8 people have to get along enough for 2 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours a week.
Yeah. And like, and while it's a lot easier, I think, to get like people and stuff, it's still 8 people, like they could be like people in your dorm and stuff like that, but you still gotta get them to show up at the same time. And that's a feat in and of itself. Like maybe if you are going to make a static out of your dorm, maybe treat them to pizza. Maybe that's a way for them to show up. You know?
We need more pizza.
Yeah, you guys should do that. You guys should be like, well, I'll order pizza for some of you guys, you know, but show up like this. Just a thought. It's a crazy thought. Like, I don't know. Like, bribe them almost. I don't know. Then next week, somebody else. Yeah.
I also did PvP. PvP is not my favorite thing in the world, and as a healer, I feel like a scrub. We won some, we lost most of them. I'm still not much closer to the other 2 GARO months I don't have, but I think a fun time. What I'm really sad about is people have asked for events, and somebody specifically said I'm interested in GARO gear for glamours, really.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted the good stuff, not the stuff you buy from the gold saucer. I'm like, all right. And I'm very carefully, I'm scheduling this for Monday, 9:00 Central Time, blah, 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 blah. And then I fucked up the, invite, but whatever. And then she had to go to bed early because she had to open the next day because her boss fucked her over. So I feel awful. But we still went, and I think we still had a good time. There was a lot of people in chat. A lot of people just worried about getting any wolf marks at all, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun. I had fun. Ruby was, like he said, completely fucking bloodthirsty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It really, by the way, that raised my spirit so much. Honestly, to hear you be like, we were all in chat and we're like, rah, 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 and rah, 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 and get this person and get that person and this person. Because I reposed someone. It's like, I reposed the healer long enough.
Oh, yeah, you stopped somebody who was chasing me. Yeah.
I stopped someone who was chasing you. PvP is so much better, in my humble opinion, in voice chat with a few other people.
Amen.
Right. And sometimes you could just be like, fuck it. I don't care whatever they're talking in Alliance chat, but our 6 people have decided just to creep around the map and steal all the bases, and I've won that way, you know? But it's fun. I still don't know if I'll get the 4v4. You have to, like, win how many 4v4s.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to... I don't want... And I'm like, I don't want to, like, queue up with 8 people and have a win trade party. I don't want that either. When we were trying to learn 4v4, we did queue up all as German, but the point wasn't to win trade. We were all hitting our buttons the best to our ability, which was hilarious. When we accidentally got matched with some win traders, they just stood there and let us murder them. And I'm like, I don't understand. And then in voice chat, they're like, what the hell? They're yelling. Or what? It was like, obviously, we had gotten matched with the win traders, and it was weird.
Yeah. Should have cleared that up at the beginning.
I know, right? Yeah. All right. Well, I think that clears up our shoot the shit.
I think so.
Hour of our shit. That's good, though. I like it. I really think it's good. People know we play the game.
Right? Yeah, and even casuals have fun in the
right, and endgame raiders are just like raging on whatever they're working on.
So basically the summary is that it's status quo this week.
All right, listeners can go ahead and shoot the shit with us on the website www.gtffxiv.com. Let's go to news. The first round. The GARO collaboration ends with patch 5. Oops, I did something. The GARO collaboration ends with patch 5.1. However, we don't actually have a date for that, right? We have a guess.
A guess.
Right. Mid to late October is our guess.
22nd, 15th, something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But they're, the items available from the Disreputable Priest and the items from the Gold Saucer. Those are going. I was surprised, honestly, guys. I didn't think they would take the Gold Saucer ones away.
Me either.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's 3 achievements: Fatal Feast, Frontline Fury, and Furious Fatalities. Those achievements and awards are going away.
Dang.
Yeah. So You may need to schedule your PvP. I still haven't been doing it with my daily roulettes. I should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because like for the longest time, my healer outfit was the GARO healer outfit, but after I got that, I was just like, I could do without these. I love the mount, but I just can't get myself to be like, you gotta do PvP this week. I'm just like, whatever, man.
I know part of me, when this is all over, I'm going to be like, all those titles I didn't get. Those mounts I didn't get.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I got the healing and the casting one or whatever. Black Mage and White Mage. I'm probably happy.
Yeah.
All right. Join us for Duty Commenced episode 32. That's on August 23rd. I don't even know. Aya and Danielle Sicer and Okiyomi?
Yeah, Okiyomi.
Yeah. I haven't watched Lovely Ladies in a while.
They were good on the last one. They did a really good job, and it seemed like they started earlier or something. Yeah, this starts. Well, I don't know. Maybe they went later.
I think they did a test. I don't know. I tried to tune in from work on my cell phone, but
I was able to watch the last one, and usually I'm not able to, so they must have stretched it out to some degree. It starts at 5 o'clock our time. I get off of work at 5, so the fact I was able to still watch them even after 30 minutes of traffic, they must have stretched the program out to some degree. But they did a really good job. Okiyomi is Noriko Star, if you'll recall. She was hired on as one of the reps.
I did not know that, actually.
Yes.
Rico, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, she did a really good job on the last episode, so they're at it again, and it's entertaining. And you can win shit, so you should watch.
Totally.
But what can you win? Is this where we get... Oh, this is different. Magic Tech torches, the Yellow Lotus, Blue Lotus, and Red Lotus. Are these fireworks that are like the cheer things?
Oh.
That's what it looks like to me. So this is good, because we've been raging for years. Why is it always a Scarf of Wondrous Wit? Yeah. Oh my god, Namazu plushies, Tataru figurines.
Oh, that Tataru figurine.
1 of 5 each.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's really cool.
And that's Friday, so that's, for me, that's 5 o'clock Central Time on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still at work, but that's okay. That's okay.
Pull it up on your phone, right?
I try to, but my signal's so bad at work.
You just got to be there for the last 15 minutes so you can join the contest. That's it.
Right.
No, I like to watch them do stuff. In fact, one of the Fridays, or one of the days they did these, I actually had the day off for another reason, and I got home and I actually joined and ran stuff with them. So, somewhere on the backlog that I don't remember if I cleared it or not, but anyway, lovely. It's good stuff. I'm so glad they do that, though, because they interact with the community. They show off the game. Good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, The Rising returns on August 26th. Ruby, what was your worst fear?
I'm pissed. They're giving away Dalamud horns to everybody that logs in, right? No. Oh my god,
ravens.
They're not doing it.
Ruby, as someone who now has 2 sets of the White Raven earrings, because I got them back in 1.0 or 1.23, I was pleasantly surprised they didn't do that. So
this time,
The Rising.
I want to say, this time last year, I was sitting on a lunch break in a Chinese food restaurant, reading on the official forums about everybody so upset about the White Raven earrings. I remember this clear as day. You were mad. I was mad. There were so many people upset about that.
I'm like, you start giving away those legacy items. Ugh, I was so mad.
Right.
You know what's funny too? I noticed that some of the events this year have the starting levels at 30 now, not 15.
Yeah, they kind of expect you to have leveled up.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Well, with the increased experience and stuff, 30 is probably the new 15.
I see.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That ring will get you to 30, right? The XP up ring.
But I don't feel like they should make these seasonal events for, tiny rewards. Mostly it's all glamour or housing or whatever. So there's no reason to make those really hard.
Right.
All right, this one is Monday, August 26th at 8 a.m. to Tuesday, September 17th at 7:59 a.m. PDT. Yeah. So the quest starts in Eastern Lunacia in Bloodshore. So most of these events tend to start in a town.
Right.
So read your fucking patch notes.
Mm-hmm.
This one does start in Bloodshore. The quest is called Message in a Bottle. So, and you have to be level 30, as you all said. The prizes are a minion, and there are 6 different wall-mounted pictures. I feel like they're like, y'all bitched about White Raven earrings, so here's some fucking posters.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, hey, this is artwork we use to promote like the patches of Stormblood. Here you go.
Yeah, it is kind of a slap in the face.
Well, and again, I don't really expect that much from the Rising as far as rewards go, because I feel like it's on the tail of the summer event.
Yeah, but I find this very bare bones. Like,
no fireworks.
I'm not seeing anything that tells you anything about this unless there's some big jam-packed story they don't want to reveal. I'm not seeing a lot of information on here that's making me go, ooh, the Rising.
Well, and the Rising's always a little bit about remembering, the calamity. I know, and sometimes they are, well, maybe, is it always? They do, they put that version of answers near in the 3 towns, that kind of thing. It is a little weird to me that as a part of the Rising, the minion to get is Brave New Y'shtola.
Yeah.
That's Shadowbringers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It seems to me like they're just throwing some shit at us. Like, it's Stormblood posters. It's a Shadowbringers minion for an event that's supposed to be about 1.0. So maybe they're out of ideas. Maybe they're like, fuck 1.0. Let's just move on with something else. Maybe it's not a very good event this year, which would be kind of sad. Usually we have that big anniversary special. Like, I'm not seeing much about that.
You're right.
Where's the guy riding the pony and all the other junk? I'm not seeing much fanfare.
Atma challenge for the Is this when they usually did the 14-hour broadcast?
Yeah, and maybe they've decided because of Shadowbringers just launching, they're taking a break. But usually there's some fanfare that comes along with this, and I'm not seeing much ramping up.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think we have time. Like I feel like the last time we had it last year, it was also like very short notice that they were going to do a stream. So, there's still time. I feel like it's, it'll still happen. So we'll see. It'll be really weird if it doesn't. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
It would be jarring to me because that's kind of something they've done regularly.
Was last year the 5-year?
I think so. Yeah.
So maybe they said screw 6-year. Who knows?
I don't know. So Monday, August 26th is not that far. It's only 5 days away.
Yeah, but also remember that Yoshi P is at Gamescom still. So like,
sure.
Maybe like there's maybe there's because he's out of the office and stuff. They're still kind of
later.
Right, or they're planning something. Like they're in the midst of planning something.
Phone it
I can't imagine. Or yeah, there's that too. So I literally just pulled up the I guess there's like a website talking about like the 5th anniversary Final Fantasy 14. So I guess there's that. I'm trying to last year was pretty big. Holy crap. Yeah, wow. Okay. Wow. I'm like looking at this. So to give you guys an idea of how soon things got announced. So last year they announced a 14-hour broadcast on the 22nd of August. The actual, anniversary stream was like on August 27th. So it is, a very short time.
It's possible. It could be tomorrow, because sometimes they announce things on Thursdays that they don't normally announce on other days. So maybe tomorrow we'll get an announcement about it. And it could be something very quick. Maybe they decide to do something at Gamescom. Maybe they'll record something, or... I mean, it doesn't have to be the most major event every year. There's got to be a time where you kind of just have an event and it's not a fanfare every single time. But it's just the 6th year now. So it's not like it's been 15 years and we're just kind of moving past things.
I still think it's going to be a big deal because, they get so many Japanese celebrities in these shows and stuff. Yeah. Like, maybe Yoko Taro can mess around with like Yoshi P or something during the stream. I don't know. Like, I feel like that might happen.
I would take a teaser. I would take a teaser for the 24-man at this point. That's for damn sure.
I feel like what's going to happen is we'll get the same artwork as a troll.
Oh my god!
Then Yoko Taro is going to, but it's just flipped the other way.
Mm-hmm.
It's technically
maybe inverted colors,
right? Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Oh my goodness. All right. Let's move on to what's on tap. We do have a developer's blog, Center Stage at Fan Festival 2019 in Shanghai. I haven't read this one, boys.
Man, the stuff that they showed for China, for Glamour and Mount.
Okay, the Mount. I saw the Mount.
Yeah, the Peacock Mount is amazing. Oh my gosh. I want.
They'll sell it to you in 2 years.
I know it's going to be on the Mog station and whatever. Looks like they had giant screens like we do at FanFest. This looks really big.
Mm-hmm.
It's like standing. Americans all have to sit, but apparently these guys can all stand.
Yeah, right. Like it's basically a concert.
Yeah. So this the outfit is cool looking.
Oh my god, the Titania outfit is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, the cosplay, yes. I had seen that cosplay in a tweet, and I'm like, I can't even believe that person did that. It's so amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm really in awe of cosplayers every time I go, especially when I go to events.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what event Ulf and I went to. It was KupoCon. And someone actually had to leave their Marlboro cosplay outside because it wouldn't fit through the door.
Oh, man.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Mm-hmm. I went outside and took a picture of it after I bumped into him. I'm unusually chatty at in real world events.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Oh, there's so many good ones. There's a Titania. There's
yeah. So I'm reading this now, and there's over 6,000 people.
No.
Who are here. Yeah, that's insane, guys.
That's so much. Well, and I bumped into some people during the last FanFest in Vegas, and I think the general consensus is we don't know how we could sell more tickets. We don't know how we could have a bigger venue. We don't know how we would run a FanFest with more people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's genuinely concerning. I always love Yoshi P in his kimono, his Byakko kimono.
Mm-hmm.
Love Soken. Love Koji Fox. Just scrolling through this.
God, there's so many cosplay photos on this.
Yeah.
That red page is perfect.
Man.
It's like there's one of every character. It's almost like there's one of every main character or NPC in this rolling thread of pictures. They're so good. They are all so good.
Yeah, they all are.
Warriors
Insanity.
And Namazu. Oh my god, Ishtola.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some people on point.
I'm just so happy that, they're able to bring this to China. This must not have been an easy thing to plan, and especially with how Chinese laws are. That's crazy.
I don't know much about that, but yeah. It's so cool.
Going back to what you're saying though, what venue would FanFest Las Vegas be in? Because I've always felt like Rio was like the perfect venue for FanFest, because we went the one in 2014 was or 2016 was it was in Paris or something?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Cramped.
It was not. Yeah, we were too big for that. that's one thing where Yoshi and all of them have really underestimated is they're always like, oh, we didn't realize the reaction or the desire or whatever would be so high. And it's like, you need to readjust your expectations.
Yep.
We want that shit and we want it now. And take my money, please.
Yeah. Passionate fans in the community want to go. Like, you know, and that's kind of the thing too, is I was thinking the other day, like, you know, obviously Blizzard's got its backyard, like at the Anaheim Convention Center and stuff. Like, you know, how much would it be to have like these guys like rent out like a whole convention center, even if it's like a day or two or something like that, like at least 2 days. You know, like how would that work out for them logistically and even money? Like imagine if you had 6,000 people actually be able to attend. You know, like each of them paying for the cost of the expo. You know, like I wouldn't think that would be too bad.
They need to invest in more people who can run stuff then. Yeah.
Like event organizers and stuff. Yeah.
I did think they did well in Vegas. I felt like we got through like security pretty quickly. But there's still
the changes in the retail, like the experience for like
was
buying
amazing.
Stuff
yes. Oh my God. I walked up there, gave them my number, waited, I don't know, a minute. They gave me my stuff, smiled at me, and I was on my way.
Yeah. So much better. Oh my gosh.
I didn't even try previous years. There was no way. In fact, I wouldn't have even tried last year, except for someone asked me for something. They're like, Yelta, I know you're going. I really want this. And so I'm like, I will stand in line for you, or I'll make Ulf stand in line for you.
Yeah.
But it was painless. It was very painless. I heard almost no horror stories. So they're learning, and that's usually my whole thing with even content in the game is I'm like, they're learning. They're learning what made us cranky. They're listening to the players. So all right.
Cool.
Made me thirsty for FanFest, honestly.
Me too.
I want FanFest.
Same. Hey, next year, right?
Well, we hope so.
Fingers crossed.
I mean, come on. Like, there's nothing to hope. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Fingers crossed I get tickets easily enough.
There you go.
That's my fear. And I know people are posting, and I post it too. Don't worry about it. Just come to Vegas, get a hotel room. We'll have fan events or whatever. But it's really not the same.
Not the same.
Not the same as sitting at that table with your friends, with your free company mates, looking up at the stage where Yoshi P is telling them to queue up the new trailer. Nothing matches that.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, let's take some shots. We do have I think it's a blog post. This is Catella's blog post, which I read earlier, and I skimmed. Catella has so many good things to say here. The title of the post is "A Few Signs You Are Actually the Problem Player." So how many times have we seen someone post somewhere that every time I join an EX party, someone bitches me out? You might be the problem. Right. So that's kind of and there's a lot going on in this whole thing. I don't know where to start.
Well, what Catella does here is gives us 5 good bullet points on why you might be the problem player. And this is really coming from a point of view that, hey, you player that has done all the content and you know what to do when you go into content, but you might be expecting your level of play or higher out of people who are new to an MMO or may not feel comfortable doing the content that you're comfortable doing. So there's 5 good bullet points here. Number 1, if you'll permit me, number 1 is, am I impatient? Did I queue for content that I really didn't have enough time or patience to respectfully participate in with others? And she gives examples. You're a DPS or healer and you purposefully pulled more mobs without being asked to. Maybe you're a tank with a new healer and you pull big at the start without doing a tester pull, or maybe without asking, about big pulls. With the comment here, seriously consider the realization that not everyone who plays has the same reaction time, skill level, or capabilities as everyone else in the party or as yourself. Sure, you can be that jerk that makes a run miserable on everyone, and maybe it gives you a feeling of superiority. But honestly, this attitude is you being disrespectful toward your teammates. So that's...
I'm just going to mention I have a real world experience with this.
Oh yeah.
My husband plays a tank. My main is a healer. So we queue up for something together. And he's sitting just to my right or just to my left. I can see his screen over my shoulder. I sometimes wonder why he didn't grab a mob. So I look over to his screen. It hasn't even rendered on the screen yet. It's not always the player's fault. Mm-hmm. He's got a high-end laptop. Our internet's not the best ever, but when stuff doesn't show up on his screen, how can I expect him to pull it? So, please be patient. He gets very frustrated because parties get mad at him, and he's not an MMO player to begin with, but he wants to be a warrior. Mm-hmm. But he's also not doing EX primals. He's not doing Savage. And in fact, he won't even do the 24-man raids because he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. To me it's interesting because like I'm reading through this first bullet point and stuff, and I've always found like, when you're playing MMOs and stuff that the biggest expectation you should always have is that not everybody plays the same as you. And I want to bring this back to Titania AX, like especially like when at first when I started queuing for that, I didn't understand why people had to say tanks, healers, north, DPS, south. Like I didn't understand what the hell that means until I actually got into a party where they literally don't even do that. Like it was like a completely huge hurdle for a lot of people to try to learn, like that there were two different ways based on videos on how to do it, but really there's only one way that you can do it properly, which is everybody agrees with a specific way to do it, right? So so a lot of my experience in this particular case is like it's not really I don't think it's necessarily impatience, but also like it's just you're learning things from very different people, and they have different, and each person has different comfort levels, right? Like, so, one of the bullet points she said was like, yeah, you got to check as a tank to make sure your healer is okay with bigger pulls. And that's just courtesy. That's common courtesy. And I find that because of the way that Final Fantasy XIV is built through altruism, that if you just extend your hand a little bit just to kind of offer more help and stuff, or even more communication, it goes such a long way to to your end game experience, or your to the entire experience overall.
Agreed.
Yep. Well, and there's where's that line between being accommodating and carrying? Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So there's that one too. It's like, where am I just letting you get away with not knowing your role, not knowing your class, not gearing up, not anything.
I'll give you my answer to this, okay? So sure, you're not pulling your weight, whatever. Just don't AFK like twice in a day just so you get here, because you're out of here. Like I saw, like there's a DPS that literally they didn't. The thing is, like again, it's all about communication, right? This DPS didn't say anything. They just, were always outside, and then about halfway or 3/4 through, they'd get in, and we're like, and the sad part is that the other 3 people in the party, me included, are on Discord talking and shit talking about this person. They're like, what the hell's going on with this guy? It's like not even here. So we all decided to just boot them because, bro, like we know what you're doing. You're literally like just, allowing us to play the game ourselves. If we really wanted to do that, we just queue ourselves.
Yeah, I'd love to do that to people who ride the 24-man raid, like the Alliance roulettes, all the way to the end.
Stand at the beginning and just hope you clear it.
And on that note, I think all of these have an inverse. If you could say, am I impatient? Did I queue for content? I mean, you could ask others, like, did you queue for something when you didn't have time? Or are you aware of your time constraints? Are you aware of others' time constraints? Do you queue for content thinking you're going to spend 45 minutes doing it, but most people expect to do a dungeon in 30? So as you go through these bullet points, we may not do that for every single one of them here, but there's an inverse, I think, that can tell a player, hey, there is a little more you can do, though, to be respectful for other people. If you're new or if you're a returner, know what you're getting into. Did you watch a video? Do you have the same expectation of the other people? Yelta mentioned it earlier about the types of parties. Are you on progression of a certain part? Have you seen all the way to the end and are calling it a clear party? Have you actually beaten it before you join a farm? Make sure that the expectations that you have, you're going into a party, that you share the same expectations as the 7 other people that are waiting for an 8th, right?
Well, and anytime I go into any sort of roulette, it can be mental roulette, and sometimes I end up spending an hour when I really was thinking I'd get an easy trial. But you will get a lot of help and mileage from me if you pop in and say, wow, first time.
Sure.
Right? Or I've queued up as stuff as tank, because tank is the bonus. And 75% of the content I've tanked before, but that we get into something and I'm like, wow, I've never tanked this. And I just let them know. The other tank either will take the lead and tell me what to do, communicate. And even if you're on PS4, I'm sorry, go find $15 or $10 and buy a keyboard. Because communication saves you so much.
Yep. All right, I'm going to move to number 2 here. Am I oblivious to what different jobs' capabilities actually even are? Am I requiring things of my random party without knowing their capabilities? Am I personally unwilling to adapt and find synergy with my random parties? Maybe you're a tank that's not familiar with the jobs of other people in your party, and you don't understand what kind of AoE damage or limitations they have. You're a tank that doesn't test your party. So that could be true. You don't know what everybody's bringing. You're bringing big pulls and a couple of jobs, the DPS jobs in the dungeon with you. Don't quite have the same AoE kit as others. The inverse to this would be, do you know your job? If you're going to join some content, do you know your own job before expecting things of other people? Do you know what your abilities do? Did you read tooltips? This happens a lot where people don't quite know what their tools do.
Or they on Titan, they stand on the ring where they auto die anyway. So, and then yell at the healer. Yeah.
My thing on this is that, I kind of disagree with this assessment that you need to kind of know, like, what your, what the capabilities are for your entire party. Because, like, I think if you know your job well, which is the inverse of this, you could pull through anything. That's my personal belief. Like, I mean, obviously there are exceptions to that rule, but, like, I can't tell you, like, how many times I've pulled through like what seems to be like a really bad pull because somebody AFK'd or something like that, and then being able to survive that at the very end just because I know, like, okay, well, the Dark Knight has these abilities and stuff, or the Warrior has these abilities and stuff, and just kind of going through and knowing, like, a lot of these and stuff. And the thing is, like, I don't want to think that people are doing this maliciously, because genuinely I've recognized that 9 out of 10 times the person who is doing it doesn't know that they're actually doing it.
They might say, I've been yelled at to assume something that's not assumeable. Yeah. There's the debuff on the tank. It doesn't have a white line over it, so I can't assume it. But there's no reason. If they yell at me, I always try to control my anger and be like, that is not possible for me to debuff off of you. And I'm like, it doesn't have the white line, which tells me whatever if they ask more. And if they continue to rage, I could just, excuse myself or them from the party.
Yeah.
And I think it's
communication.
I think it's fair to say that Catella plays a healer primarily. So some of this may be really looked at from a healer's point of view when a tank makes a big pull and they didn't check the MP of the healer before they did something, or if the cooldowns are available and that kind of thing.
And admittedly, Ruby, a lot of this is very emotional, right? Like, look at number 4. Are you a fake mentor?
Right.
That's not really factual, and I mean, yes, there are fake mentors, but it's like, what's the use of calling them out? I feel like that's kind of, to me, like, it's just, and I love Catella's work, and it's by no means, I'm not trying to like slam this article or anything like that, but it's like, you have to kind of measure, your personal feelings with like the kind of stuff that you got to write sometimes. And for me, like, the one thing I will tell you, like, of the 5 years I've been playing this game, the one thing that's worked for me is kindness and just being a civil human being, right? Like, things could explode in the alliances that I'm in 24-man raids, but you know what actually cuts through all that? Levity, jokes, and just getting people to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And the sad part is that, like, a lot of us get, when we read a lot of these comments, which, 70% of the time I ignore because some of that's very vile. But like, what is everybody's goal? Everybody has the same goal: beat this thing, right? So, for me, my job as a player is to get everybody on the same page so we can achieve that goal. It doesn't matter if you want to complete this fast. It doesn't matter if like people are dying or people are wanting to get carried. Who cares? Like, let's get this done. Especially with casual content, right? Like, no one's just there to be like, I really don't want to beat this today. Like, nobody goes into a dungeon thinking that. So,
and in casual content, those lines blur. There's a very wide gray area where somebody is like, I can make up for somebody else's differences. That's why raging in a dungeon seems so stupid. It's just like
anything in roulette is like basically
it's 30 minutes. If I got to make up for somebody else's crap, that's okay. As long as it's not some gross sort of thing. But when you get into harder content, those lines get a little clearer. Those definitions need to be clear. And then you get to the conversation like Yelta had earlier. Yeah, go ahead.
When people put up a clear party and I join it, and we wipe 4 times before any sort of major mechanics, and someone types, I thought this was a clear party, and someone types back, well, the intention is to clear. The goal is to clear. And I'm like, no, that's not what clear
was
party means.
Was that all 7 people's intentions, or was there somebody else in there that thought, well, I'm going to slip past?
Yeah, we had 2 people that obviously didn't have clears and didn't know what the fuck they were doing and asked about every single mechanic. That's not a clear party. But we need to define that kindly. We need to correct people kindly. Raging about it it just sours people if you are like, well, fuck you, this isn't a clear party.
And I think all that, what we just said here, covers number 3, because I do want to get back to number 4 with the fake mentor thing, but I think all of that covers also number 3. Are my expectations skewed by the content I frequent? And I think that's rooted in, do you have expectations over other people because you're constantly running farm parties, clear parties that you don't think of what the other people are in there for? And the inverse being, don't join parties you are not prepared to join or fit the requirements that they're putting up there. Expectations need to be the same all the way across. All 8 people need to expect. And that's like what you were saying, Alex. Everybody, when they go into a dungeon, expects to clear the dungeon. Yes. And you can make up for other people's mistakes. Yes, everybody who joins an EX wants to clear the EX. And yes, everybody who joins a Savage party wants to clear that. But what's the level of their commitment? And that, I think, also butts up against the expectation. You can have an expectation, but you haven't brought the level of commitment to meet that expectation. You still are in the wrong in that degree.
Well, in party finders, not duty finders, because duty finders just puts you into whatever, and you should really kind of deal with it. But in party finders, you need to join parties that match your level of experience, not your goal.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's really where I think the biggest issue is people join a clear party being like, I'll get my clear, but they haven't done a learning party and they haven't done a progression party.
And I feel like that's, there's an interesting kind of schism between casual content and the more difficult content, right? Because, like, not a lot of people get to experience extreme content in a degree that, that people, that can tell them, like, yeah, this is, by the way, like, gonna kick your ass. And I feel like a lot of this is perpetuated by the fact that, they've experienced getting carried in normal content, so therefore extreme can't be that bad, right? And I think that, if anything, and I feel like this is something that is more of a, like an outside outreach community kind of thing, as opposed to our community, because we know what savage means, we know what extreme means, we know what ultimate means. But can you ask somebody who just beat Shadowbringers and never done those kinds of content in the past what the order is of difficulty between those three?
And we're running into that in our free company because it's still called extreme, even if it's in a Realm Reborn. It's still called extreme if it's, you can unsync extreme content and you may not understand that you should not be joining that Titania clear party. You want to clear, but that's not what that means. So I hope people will be kind in correcting people.
And it's relative to the content. So, like, for example, like at 50, I understand, like, that striking tree extreme is going to be a little bit difficult than the normal stuff. But then we have so many designations. Where does Minstrel's Ballad fall under? I mean, I know that kind of
hard modes and that,
right. And I had somebody ask me, like, in Shadowbringers, like, they got to Shadowbringers, they said, like, what happened to all the hard mode, like, primal fights? And I'm like, no, hard mode is just literally 8 people. That's really all it is. They drop that designation later on and stuff. And, and that's kind of the thing, is the nomenclature is also kind of inconsistent. And quite honestly, like, like, you can split this many ways.
They should collapse that at this point, honestly. I think they should go back and just collapse that, because you should just have a normal storyline mode and the extreme. And they could go back and just collapse the hard modes.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
We talked about number 4. Are you a fake mentor? I agree. This bullet point seems a little rooted in emotion. Like, you're a mentor and you're only in it for the mount and the crown by your name. You put down new players. I'm going to tweak this for Catella in the sense that if you are a mentor, use the novice network for what it's supposed to. Not political commentary, not talking about social things that have nothing to do with the game, and not throwing red herrings out for players. Also, don't fight amongst yourselves. I don't think that's very good for new players to see the toxicity in the mentor novice network. That to me is a fake mentor. If you're just in that novice network to use it as a separate LS channel or to fuck with people, you're fake in my book. And they're going to make changes to the mentor thing. And so I'm kind of waiting to see who drops out. Well, I won't know, but people will kind of fall out of that program when they revamp it.
But they really need to. It's still too easy. The entire mentor system, the entire novice network is a complete and utter piece of shit, and it needs to be reworked from the ground up.
It definitely needs to be. Like, if anything, like, even a simple, like, icon, I feel like can solve the problem. Because I think that people like the crown. Like, it's kind of like the crown thing is. I feel like it's more like a status symbol than anything.
I think it's a curse. I take it off. I don't want people to think I'm a mentor.
I don't use mine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're. I mean, obviously, but like a lot of people like it because of the crown symbol, and that's the only reason why they do it. And that's why I'm kind of suggesting, if you want to talk about like a simple solution, freaking make it a flower or something, like a sunflower or something, like something really ridiculous that it's like, it kind of almost makes fun of you, but at the same time kind of, gives you authority.
It was a globe in 11, right?
Was it?
I think, or a circle with an M in it or something like that.
Yeah, that's good. I'd take
not
that.
A crown.
Yeah, not a crown. I really do think that the problem with the mentor system is the icon that represents, because it is a status symbol. You have a crown, you're special, So I think that's more of a perception issue in addition to being a douchebag.
It's an eggplant. You got a big
yes, dude. The eggplant would. Well, actually, no. The eggplant would actually.
That would be too sexual and
an eggplant, the water squirt, and a smiley face.
That would be worse because people will really want to be mentored.
Yes.
Yeah, that's making the problem worse, man. But going to this though, and I don't want to kind of push forward here a little bit, but number 5 is also kind of emotional.
Yeah, I'm ready to kind of move to that. So number 5 is: are you not paying full attention? Hence, that might be true. You're doing some new fight, but you keep dying to AOE's. You're not dealing with mechanics properly. Seriously, take a few minutes to eat before you start things. There's things that are. Go ahead.
If it's a new fight, you should be focused, in my opinion. If I join something, I will eat nachos during my maybe story time roulette, my MSQ roulette during cutscenes.
I want nachos.
But I'm not gonna. I want nachos. But I'm not gonna be eating, drinking. There's some stuff I will not queue up for because I'm drunk. Mm-hmm. Right. That's kind of the same thing.
Well, I mean, how many times have you gotten into a 24-man raid and somebody goes, "Oh, sorry, I'm stoned." Like, okay, I think you could do better than that stoned anyway. You should be able to focus. But, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that I'm stoned or I'm drunk. I can't do this, whatever. Why'd you queue for it? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. But
don't sign up for MSQ roulette if you don't have 45 minutes.
Oh my god, yes.
I feel
the cutscenes, just don't do it if you don't have time.
Man, I don't know if like the duty finder is like discriminating, but I've never had that in like the 5 years of like playing this game.
Oh, people dip out all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stoned people
dip out.
What's a coin flip, right? You get one of 2 fights and Godspeed.
No.
Yeah, I don't even know what the inverse of that would be. Are you not paying full attention? I mean, I guess learn a fight if you keep your eyes open if you're going to be the newbie going into something. Understand what the symbols represent, Doritos and stack markers and those kind of things.
See, that's actually going to be a dedicated video on the most common stack markers for me.
That's what the Hall of the Novice really needed more of. It needs this is what this symbol does. This is what this symbol does. When I go to Hall of the Novice or I think about Hall of the Novice, I think more of what Final Fantasy VI's little tutorial thing is, where it shows you what all the status is. It needs to be a little more informational about the stack mechanics and things of that nature. Show us what happens when something works right. Show us what happens if you don't do it.
See, I would agree with you otherwise, but remember that there is a stack mechanic that is not the universal one in Cerberus.
A Realm Reborn.
People type a lot. People are like, do this, do that when I go in there. So.
A Realm Reborn does butcher some. It was random, right? The Dooms, if there's anything. There's 3 different types of Doom. You can heal it off. You can stand on a square. There's another one. Asuna it off. So there's different things that they kind of corrected later on. But that's where I would say a Hall of the Intermediary or some other thing to show you post 50 content, maybe 60 and above content. These things are similar.
I'm surprised that, the Bardam's metal boss was never iterated upon, like, in any future challenge.
God. We've talked about that forever. Like, Gold Saucer should have had some kind of event that did things similar, that you won prizes if you did the stack mechanics correctly.
Yeah. That's perfect if you did that. Wow.
If she'd have never listened to us.
Yeah, Don't worry. Next year, I'm going to literally run in front of that line for the Q&A and ask these questions.
Where's my eggy glamour?
Womp
womp. So that's it.
Very glamour pixies, right? That's the new question.
Oh, yes. What do these pixies do? I've been fielding that question a lot. Nothing. Bro. They're just palette swaps now.
Yeah.
Catella, thank you. Catella always puts out good guides, so if you want to check her stuff out, it's catella.wordpress.com. We'll put the link up when the episode appears on our website.
It was a good article, because I really have found that occasionally I'm on the side of whatever I'm expecting in some random. Only in my head, though. I never type it. I'm never like, why aren't you pulling big? because when I'm a tank, I don't want to. So
yeah.
All right, happy hour. We do have an email. Oh no, this was a this was actually a comment on one of our episodes.
Ooh.
Thank you for coming to the website. Philip Kane from Malmung said, "Lolly ho, Ruby and Yelta. Love the episode as usual. Heart. I wanted to point out something interesting that I've been thinking about. You brought up on the episode during the Warriors of Darkness patch in Heavensward. It did feel like it was quick and almost inconsequential. At the time, it seemed like it was a way to wrap up the mystery to what happened to Minfilia after A Realm Reborn. But if you pay attention to how Square Enix has been handling these expansions, it's almost obvious that it was a setup to a following expansion. But always the expansion after the next one. In screenwriting, there's the rule of planting and payoff, and we have seen Square Enix use this method to great success. In A Realm Reborn, we were given Yuguri as a setup for Stormblood. In Heavensward, we were given the Warriors of Darkness as a setup for Shadowbringers. So if we think back to Stormblood and for future characters in Shadowbringers, I think it will be fun to theorize where we go next. Just something I thought would be fun to think about, and seeing how cyclical Square Enix is and seems to affect their writing as well. Love your show. Please keep it up. You know, I get I understand the concept of foreshadowing. My problem really is how inconsequential it felt at the time, how it didn't feel resolved enough.
Mm-hmm.
For me, they like planted the seeds so early that you're like, whatever.
Yeah, and thinking about like Stormblood too, like, let's see, who are the characters that they introduced in Stormblood, or rather even reintroduced, right? Because I can only think of two people, and they're both showed up before, right? And lo and behold, 6.0, probably Garlemald. I'm just saying.
Well, I need some Gosetsu action. I could see him coming back in some way.
Well, yeah. Fordola's going to do something. I'm convinced they need to do something with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I don't know. Like, this is so weird. Like, I feel like, yes, it's true that they are cyclical and stuff like that. But come on, like, everything about this game is cyclical, right? The 3-month updates, you know, the certain beast tribes happening, and of course the conclusion of those beast tribes happening very like, almost the same. It, you know, and to me, like, that's not really a bad thing. If anything, like, I'm actually really surprised that, you know, that it's not something that is brought up often. You know, that they're doing this very consistently.
Oh yeah, but thank you so much for being on the show.
Yes,
it's been really fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, I guess then we are at closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You can find links to all of our episodes and blog posts on our website, gtffxav.com. While you're there, please leave us a comment. And if you'd like to, you can support us by clicking the donation button. You can find us on Twitter at GTFFXIV. You can email us at gtffxav@gmail.com. Please rate us. Personal plugs. Alex.
Awesome. So if for some reason in that first hour of this show you're not sick of hearing me, you can find me on Twitter, twitter.com/mybacklogbattle, and youtube.com/mybacklogbattle. Basically, talk a lot about like RPGs, Japanese RPGs. Yakuza is like one of my, you know, biggest things. Persona, Catherine is coming up, so I'm gonna, you know, stay tuned for that. That's gonna be really good. And yeah, of course, Final Fantasy 14. And again, like, if you have any friends, anybody who's listening who just don't want to touch MMOs, or they're just, you know, there's a lot of trepidation on their part because they've never played an MMO before, but want to try Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, send them a link of my new adventure guides for Final Fantasy 14. I'm hoping that I can help your friends or friends get into this game and get them hooked as much as you are. So, but definitely thanks for having me, guys. This was a really enjoyable episode.
I keep thinking of like, join. It only hurts a little, and we promise you'll like it.
Yeah.
So. I love to see your take and your opinions on things. I think it's fantastic, and we have to have you on more often, I think.
Definitely.
Ruby.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at RubiconVale, RubiconVale.
And you can find me on Twitter at Yeltasumasu, YELTASUMASU. As always, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Say bye-bye, Alex.
Bye-bye.
I might be drunk at this point.